Okay, so here's the deal. I've been watching a ton of Project Zomboid videos lately, and I mean a ton. But one thing I've noticed is that most of them go a little bit something like this. Well, today, we're not doing that. Instead, I'm doing something different and turning Project Zomboid into the best farming simulator since Stardew Valley. Our story today begins with Kyle Kornrow, which I spelt with a K for added coolness. While most Kentuckians were out getting mauled to death at the outbreak of the zombie apocalypse, our friend Kyle was lucky enough to live here, in this small farmhouse south of Riverside. Today, our objective is simple. We are going to become Kyle Kornrow and live out his fantasy of becoming the best farmer in all of Kentucky. Our adventure started as most do. We first checked out the house to see what supplies we had on hand, but aside from some canned food, magazines, and a questionable collection of DVDs...
That's 'cause Jesus Christ is my name.
I quickly realized that we were shit out of luck. I took a look outside, and after I gently opened the shed window, I found a generator, a few tools, and an improvised melee weapon. I took a look around the property, but I didn't find much else aside from a couple stray zombos and the car that was completely buggy. For now, I had enough food and water, so my next move was to shore up my home defense. And although I didn't have all the necessary tools, I was able to break down some of my furniture and start barricading my windows. After learning how to use the stovetop, by the way, now is probably a good time to mention that prior to making this video, I think I've played maybe 20 hours of this game with my friends, so I was very much still a noob. I managed to avoid burning down the house and put some food in my belly before I had a quick sleep. I woke up before daylight on day 2 in search of a can opener and other necessary supplies, but mainly I wanted a can opener. I travelled northeast to a nearby suburb and met a few of my neighbours along the way. I gave them some good advice before introducing them to my shoes. That wasn't a joke. Subscribe or else. Luckily for me, one of them was kind enough to lend me his watch. I got scratched up pretty bad in the struggle, but I managed to find an axe and a saw before retreating home to treat my injuries. While I recovered, I continued destroying furniture well into the night.
Not the TV!
And before I knew it, my house, unlike your mother, had become an impenetrable fortress. I woke up hungry on day 3, but since I could not open any of my food, I was forced to return to town for Operation Can Opener. No, empty, fuck. After I cleared every house in the neighborhood, I had come up with nothing. I was convinced that my run was cursed and that I was going to die of starvation. That was until I came across this place, Pony Romo. After clearing out the formal jockeys and poking around a little, I had done it. Yes, dude, finally. Mum's gonna be so proud. Okay, now that we had the ability to eat, it was time to formulate a plan. My first objective was to find seeds, because we can't be farmers without seeds. We also needed tools, medical supplies, and some extra food and water just in case. With 10% skill and 90% luck, we would be able to find all of these in town. I was also hoping to get my hands on a car too, but for now, I had to walk. This was my destination, a small town to my north which I now proclaim to be Milktown, USA. I parked the car just outside of town and set off on foot. I checked the bar first, where I found some whiskey and a jerry can for my car. I had just started to check out some of the outskirts around town when this happened.
Run.
After doing some epic parkour and escaping the giant trail of zombies, I asked myself an important question. WWPLD. What would Private Lime do? I studied hard, and I considered all possible solutions before I came up with a plan. Okay, so we've got a Molotov. Now, how do I've got the lighter. So if we equip it, we should just... Okay. So if we equip it, we should be able to use it. Are you serious? Did I seriously miss? Oh my god, I suck. Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Once the fires were out, I managed to snag the generator magazine from the bookstore as well as some books on farming and carpentry. I also grabbed a couple of medical supplies from the local doctor's office and a water jug from the police station. I continued to search the town when I stumbled upon this. Farming and rural... Oh, holy shit, no way. That's actually exactly what I need. Now, I can't emphasize enough how lucky I was that there was actually a farming store here because I had done literally no research on the location for this challenge. I just knew I wanted to play Project Zomboid, and I picked a farm and hoped for the best. But, lucky for me, I hit the jackpot. There was everything I needed here to get my farm going. After stuffing my bags with enough seeds, tools, food, and guns to cause some serious spinal trauma, I took my loot home. It was on the drive home where I remembered that the helicopter event would surely come soon. Now, for anyone who's unfamiliar, after you survive about a week in this game, a helicopter spawns, and it follows you around for about 24 hours. If you get caught out by this, it can draw a massive amount of zombies to your location. Until now, I had never actually survived to see one of these events for myself, so I was pretty worried. To make matters worse, I also ran out of fuel before I could get home and I was forced to temporarily abandon my car. I spent the night fortifying my base and organising my loot, all the while listening out for the whir of a chopper, but when nothing happened, I figured that I was safe for at least another day or two. The next day, I was hard at work dismantling fences. The next day, I was hard at work dismantling fences in my yard when I heard it. What's that noise? Oh fuck, that's the helicopter. I ran upstairs and barricaded the door in a panic. Unfortunately for me, I didn't bring any entertainment with me, so I spent the next 20 minutes standing in the bathroom doing nothing. After that ordeal, I siphoned what I could from the junker in my yard, I retrieved my car, and then brought all of my goodies home. The next day, I headed back into town and cleared out the remaining zombros, so that I could grab the remaining farming supplies that I had left behind. I also found a couple garden gnomes to keep me company. After I dropped my gear home, I assessed the current situation. As it stood, I had enough food and water to last a while. I also had a ton of seeds that were ready to plant, as well as a plough and an automatic seeder, both of which were from the AgroSar mod. However, I still needed a few things before I could live out my farming simulator fantasies. Most importantly, I needed a large pool of water to draw from in order to keep my crops watered. For this, I needed to rely on water barrels, which unlock at carpentry level 4. These barrels would feed my irrigation system to automatically water my crops when necessary. No rain required. The second thing I needed was metal pipes, a whole heap of them in fact. These would be used to build the irrigation system I mentioned. Lastly, I needed a tractor because there was no way in hell that I was going to sit there and plough this giant field by hand. My first mission was getting my carpentry level up, so I headed back to town and destroyed every single bed, table, and chair in sight. I also kept a lookout for chain link fences which could be dismantled into metal pipes. After that, I set off looking for a tractor. I came across what seemed to be a food processing warehouse, and after poking around a little, I found a mighty fine John Deere tractor with my name all over it. Surely I can just take a shortcut through this field. Yeah baby, that's what I'm talking about. Come on, let's go. Maybe built for the fields, but he isn't built for speed. After about 20 minutes I was home, and all of the pieces of the puzzle had fallen into place. Just 13 in-game days after starting, I had finally gotten everything I needed to create the ultimate farm. The next morning, it was time. Everything had led to this moment, and nothing, I mean nothing, was going to stop me. How do I connect the plow? Surely I just reverse up to it and it like attaches. Easy peasy. Now, a trigger warning for those of you who like to plant your crops like this, because the next part is not going to be pretty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I appear to be stuck, and no amount of throttle appears to be helping. Now that I was well and truly stuck, my only option was to travel to neighbouring farms in the hope that they had a spare tractor that I could requisition. Oh, thank God. You know, for a second there, I thought that I just ruined like 15 hours worth of work. But it seems that we are actually saved. After a delicious celebratory canned dinner and a light nap, I was back to ploughing the fields like a true farmer. Now, I'll save you guys the pain of watching me drive the tractor, but please know, I have an hour-long recording of me just doing this. I had a big brain moment and decided that the best course of action for initially watering my seeds would be to wait for a rainy day. So the next day, when it was raining, I woke up and decided that I was going to look around for any leftover metal pipes that I could use. Once I had realized my mistake, I cut back through the forest at speed. I retrieved all of my seeds and attached the seed-o-matic to my tractor. Once the seeds were sown, it's time to lay some serious pipe. For this to work, I had to connect an irrigation pipe to each water barrel and then onto each farmable tile. Unfortunately, I had massively underestimated the amount of pipes I would require, and I ran out about a quarter of the way through. Now, just gathering these 50 pipes took me hours. So what did I do? I went back to search for more. No, I didn't. That's a lie. I refuse to subject myself to this anymore. No way. If the crops died, fuck it. While I waited for my crops to grow, I did some serious deforestation and then used the wood to build this cool little barn area, which I just thought was pretty neat. Afterwards, I went back and... what the fuck? Why has nothing grown? It's been like 3 days. Now, my stupid ass thought that crops in Project Zomboid would grow in a couple of days, like in Minecraft or Stardew Valley. But after some research, it turns out that it takes at least a couple of in-game weeks for most crops to grow. So I waited. Through rain and shine and day and night, I stood there and waited for my babies to grow. And I'm telling you, when they did, it was all worth it. This was my grand haul from my harvest, and to complete my farmer roleplay, there was only one thing left to do. Sell them at the farmer's market, of course. I loaded them up and took my veggies to a little stall on the side of the road, eager to share the fruits of my labour with those around me. That's it. That's the story of Kyle Kornrow. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and make sure to do the bell thing, because I've got way more cool stuff on the way. I know, it took forever. I'm sorry. Just like you guys, I was stuck playing Baldur's Gate 3 as well. Not my fault, but I promise it won't be so long between videos next time.